what I'm going to talk about is how do we manage a business from a quality management system perspective. What chapter is this in your guys' textbook? Yeah, you can't answer these questions. Okay, and I understand that there's some hockey players that are going to be watching later today. I'm also a hockey official, so I will be keeping an eye on those guys, even though they're on TV. So who am I? I got my Master's of Chemical Engineering from Michigan State University, and I got my undergrad from University of Michigan. And does University of Michigan ring a bell at all to anybody? We kicked their ass last year in hockey, in the championship game, right? No, I think nobody cares about hockey around here. I guess not. Anyway, that was really an awesome game. So I also have a BS in German. It is what it sounds like, a lot of BS, but and a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that is a little bit later. But currently, I'm the director of the graduate engineering program on the Iron Range. So I give, teach the classes providing for the master's degrees in chemical engineering, electrical, mechanical, civil, all those gearheads. But with a master's in chemical engineering, there's one thing I know right now about me and you. One is, I know more about chemical engineering than any one of you in this room. So big deal, yeah, big deal. But I also know that if you guys play your cards right, someday I might be working for you. And that's why I want to come here today. Lila doesn't pay me a lot of money to come here. She gave me $2.25 to park outside. But if you're my boss, I want you to know this. What's that?
And the bottle of water.
Oh, I got a bottle of water, yeah. But if you guys know this, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable to work for. If you don't know this, I'm going to have to train you later on in life. So learn it now and be a good boss to me, okay? That's my goal. All right, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, there's some things here that I have, a whole bunch of letters and whatever these things are. These are the quality management systems that I've been a part of. The Toyota Production System, St. Mary's Process Excellence, Air Force Smart Operations for the 21st Century, Cirrus Six Sigma, Caterpillar Six Sigma, Rolls-Royce Production Systems. These are quality management systems that these organizations have put in place, and they all want to put their own spin on them. You guys don't really do branding, do you, in business? Of course you do branding. You want it to be your own and all that stuff. You can, throw things at me. It's okay. So what I want to do today is give you a 30,000-foot view of what quality management is, what a quality management system is, and why I argue that business and quality are identical. A quality management system and a business management system, to me, are the same words. So I read your book last night, chapter 6, and it was exciting. You're going to just love it. So some things I'm going to set straight, and some things, though, are actually really good. There's actually only one thing that I'm going to change what the book said. But first of all, we got to think about what that phrase, what is quality? And when we woke up this morning, we all knew what quality was. We said, when we leaned over, we said, I know it. Well, it's actually what we think. We think we know what it is, but what is it really? So you ever had a quality product? Like when you bought your iPhone, was it a quality product? Who has an iPhone? Who's got a Droid? Should I buy an iPhone or a Droid for my next phone? It's a real question, I want to know. Okay, answer it later. But have you ever gotten something that's a high quality product? What makes it quality or high quality? Who has the cricket sound on their phone? We got to get that little chirp sound.
Just call on them, they have the name sound.
Do they? Well, what's your name?
Erica.
Erica, you're free. You don't get called on today. Who else doesn't have a name? No. What is quality though? Think about it. What is that? What does that term quality mean?
It meets your expectations.
Okay, so conformance requirement. Meets your expectations. Do I know what my expectation is as a customer? Not really. Like I said, when you woke up this morning, you thought you knew what quality was, but you can't really phrase it. You can't really say what it is. You think you know what it is, because you know damn well when it's not met. You go, shoot, this was the worst quality. When I went to Arby's last night, on my way home, 9:30, and I'm irritated because my class went late. I'm on my way home, and I had to wait 10 minutes in the drive-thru line. Did I have a quality experience there? Manager came up to me and says, I'm sorry, here's a free combo meal next time you come through. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm still, okay, you know. He helped manage this failure to meet my expectation. I didn't know that I wanted it within 3 minutes, but I started getting more and more irritated as it got to be 9, 10 minutes. And then the dude behind me was really pissed. So anyway, so quality, it meets our requirements even though we don't know what those are. Sometimes we have to, as business people, we have to help our customers. What else is quality? What is, define some things that are really quality to us. Give me some real words that I can use.
Something of value.
Something that's of value to me as the customer, right? So something that's of value. Like my kids are of value to me, but I don't really think they're real high quality all the time.
Reliable.
So reliable. So it's of value and it's reliable. It'll work every time I go to use it or whatever it is. It's always going to be the same and give me what I expect it, and it provides me a value. Okay. Well, you know, as we're trying to get our minds around this, we look at quality and we say, well, okay, I kind of know what it is, and Mo, that's me by the way. If I force you, you could probably give me some definitions, but these three dudes are the quality gurus. We have Crosby, Deming, and Duran. I don't think that'll be on your exam, but if you ever get a chance and you're working in industry, anywhere, you might want to read some of the stories that these guys put together. They changed the 20th century. And they defined quality as conformance to requirements. As a predictable degree of conformity and fitness for use. So if the next time I ask you and I say, what is quality? You say fitness for use, it provides value, it meets my requirements, I would not be unhappy. But these very things changed the way we started manufacturing in the United States and around the world. So there is this thing called the cost of poor quality. When we are a manufacturer or a service provider and we screw up, it comes at a cost. So Arby's last night, they didn't realize that this is the Arby's that's right on the road up just around the corner. They didn't realize I was going to come talk to you all today. So the cost of that delay in their quality delivery might have blemished their reputation a little bit. So the cost of poor quality, though, we can actually put a dollar value to it. Can you put a dollar value into the business that might be lost today? Because you guys won't go to Arby's now because I told you they're bad? Well, I didn't really tell you they're bad. Ted Nugent says there's no such thing as bad publicity. If you like Ted Nugent, then there you go. But inside of our business, when we start tying quality to business, quality to finance, we try to associate costs with things that aren't real. The lack of quality is something that's not real. How do you put a dollar value to it? So what we came up with this term called the cost of quality, which says we have 4 types of quality costs: the appraisal, the prevention, the internal, and external. So what are these 4? What do they mean? The appraisal is how much time do I spend working on trying to guarantee, I'm measuring a piece, I'm measuring a component, trying to make sure that it is fit for use, that it meets the requirements. That's appraisal cost. Those are our inspectors, those are our gauges, those are the training that we do, or actually prevention, that is the training that we do to teach our people what our customer wants. Prevention is the stuff that I put in place, the robots that I put in place, the alarms that I put in place to make sure that the product that I make is going to guarantee me a fit for use end product, and that it's going to meet customer requirements. I feel like I should be walking all around here, and I'm constrained here. How do you do this? So quality management systems. I'm going to kind of tie in the 19th century to the 20th century to our 21st century, is that we only started in America, we only started evolving as a quality management system in the late 80s. The reason I got involved with this is I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. And it might be a slide later, but my dad worked for General Motors for 30 years. And in 1980, the average American car that we produced had about 230 defects per 100 vehicles. Japan, they had 12 defects per 100 vehicles. So 232 versus 12. Which is a higher quality vehicle? Defects being a bad thing, right? Okay, just making sure. They don't come for free, but I guess they do. But anyway, so 230 per 100 versus 12. Which would you rather buy? Well, I grew up in the Buy American phase. It was, we're going to buy everything that's made in the United States, whether it's crap or not. But these Toyotas were going 250,000 miles. I couldn't afford to buy a General Motors vehicle. I couldn't afford not to either. So quality is a really big deal. So we started learning. We said, okay, I mentioned J. Edwards Deming. He was an American that went over to Japan and taught them what they knew, or what they know, and how they applied it was their doing. But we started saying, what are they doing that we're not? And so we started to copy it. So we came up with these quality systems. ISO is the International Organization of Standards, or Standards Organization. It's French, and I can't speak French. TS is the technical spec, TS 16949, and the environmental. This is an interesting video, and I wish that we could watch it real quick, because if we can, does that say yes, we want to continue? If we can't watch it, so how do I back up?
You want to watch it?
Yeah, I want to just make it a full screen. We won't watch the whole thing, but the key thing is our perception of what quality is now compared to what it was before. So this is where our quality requirements change over time. We think we know what quality is, but who do you think lives? That guy's toast. These are crash dummies, by the way. I qualified for that job. So the result of this accident, though, if you get a chance, the link will be on there. Watch the whole thing. But the guy in this car scratched his knee and had a little sore neck, but was fine. This dude over here died instantly. So this was the 1959 Bel Air, and that was a 2010 Malibu, I think. So get a chance to look at that. I think you'll find it perhaps interesting. But the point that I'm trying to make with that is that our perception of what quality is. Yesterday's idea of luxury is now what we expect today. So we mentioned that, hey, I just expect it to work. I expect it to be right. So my definition of quality keeps getting more and more and higher and higher. Did anyone have one of those bag phones? Did you ever carry around those? Bag cell phones?
No, they were
No.
not born yet.
No, you weren't born yet. I was cool, man, walking around campus carrying my bag phone. Hello! Just talking out loud so everybody could hear me. All right, well, that's not quality anymore. So anyway, things change. Okay, I guess I wrecked it. So here's those numbers I was talking about. In the early 80s, 232, Toyota was 12. And then the late 80s, we made tons of improvements. Man, we were learning, but so were they. The quality was getting better and better. So what was going on here? Around this time, Motorola was also the bag phone thing that I was talking about. They were going through some big issues. They were the phone that you had to get. If you were going to get a cell phone, you were going to get a Motorola, but their quality sucked. They were really bad. Everything about them, you got them because they were new, but you got rid of them because they were brutally bad. And so they said, you know, we've got to change our quality system. So they developed this thing called Six Sigma. And at the same time, this Six Sigma created this path to the high quality and started touching on what I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about, is lean. So I'll define a little bit what Six Sigma is. But first, talk about what the benefits of such a quality management system is. Benefits are, I think it's plural. What the benefits are of such a system. So here are some of the projects that I worked on. We had one, that first one is kind of cool. So as a Lean Six Sigma black belt, what I would do is I would work with folks in any area of a plant, and I would help them solve the problems of their day. So we would go in, one of them was a lot of waste was being just walking back and forth. Like you see me pacing up here. I do that because I'm nervous. But a lot of people, when they do their jobs, they're like, okay, I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to move it over here, and then I'm going to pick it up. So there's a lot of wasted motion. So in one case, 8 miles an operator was walking per day for no apparent reason. Just going to grab a tool over here and then using it and then going to put it away. We move the tool closer. Well, that's kind of stupid. That doesn't really sound like a big deal. It is a big deal because you start doing this. She was pissed at me, by the way, because this was her weight loss program. She started gaining weight after we changed the thing. But anyway, a project that Lila and I worked on, this 86 pounds of paper. This was awesome. Lila worked in finance. I was over in manufacturing. And when we'd get something in from an aircraft supplier, we would have triplicates. So, you know, you always do things in triplicates. So I and the quality department would get a copy and I'd file it. Finance would get a copy and they would file it. And then purchasing would get a copy and they would file it. And then after 30 days, we'd take all those copies and put them in a box and then move them over to cold storage, where they sat for 10, 15 years. Some of them are still there. And finally, someone had the audacity to say, what do you use those copies for? Quality said, well, we don't need them. That's just what we've always done. Finance says, I just use it to put in a number. I don't need it ever again. Purchasing says, I like to see what I've done in the month. There was no use for any of this. Well, that sounds silly, but this is just one tiny project. So that was almost 90 pounds of paper, plus all that work. And that was not the ancillary benefit of us moving that paper to cold storage, saving it, wondering if we should burn it. There was just a lot of things with it, but some of the bigger things, scrap reduction, all of this stuff. So how does a quality management system give us all of this stuff? I'm glad you asked. Thank you. That's good. Well, it's about a culture of improvement. If you've been out working and you've worked in any kind of culture, how do you describe a culture? What are some attributes that you can give, not just a workplace culture, how about just cultural differences? We're a university of diversity, right? And we want to embrace diversity. So well, what's diversity mean? What does it mean to have a different culture? What are some attributes of a culture?
Language.
So language could be part of the culture. It helps describe what that culture is, maybe. What else could be an attribute of a culture?
Traditions.
Traditions.
Values.
What's that?
Values.
Values, things we value. Traditions, language.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle. Okay.
Attitudes.
Attitudes. Okay. So there's a lot of things that go into a culture. Now, take those and describe a business. What is the culture of a business? You have been promoted to the president of your organization, and you walk in and you say, wonder what the culture's like here. How would you describe it? We talked about lifestyles. Can we say that about work? Where's the cricket sound? We were going to get that.
One semester, a student actually had that. You know,
So when I asked the questions, it was chirp chirp. It was all day long. So lifestyle, sure, the work-life balance. Some value having a home life. They want to spend at least 12 hours a day at home and at least 12 hours a day at work. Sometimes those are opposing forces. So different lifestyles, different home lifestyles that trickle into work. How could that trickle into work? By how our brains are wired and how we think and how we can look at different opinions and argue and be able to have a discussion where we don't agree and be okay. Where Lila and I are across the table saying, I don't think we're doing it the right way. She says, well, this is the way we've always done it, and this is why it's right. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I've worked in some cultures where I would never, ever do that to my superior. I would never go and say, we're doing the wrong thing. But in our culture, that was acceptable. But as soon as it was made clear that this is why we did it. So you see, a culture is a lot about how we feel, what we do to be successful in an organization. And each of us has an idea of how to create a culture. Now let me rephrase that. Each of us has a responsibility to be a part of the culture and to help create it to the better. So one of the strengths of a Lean Six Sigma organization is that this is part of the culture. combine a philosophy of long-termedness, a philosophy of being non-detrimental to the environment, helpful to each other, whatever that philosophy is, we all kind of buy into it, and we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And we grow our people. We don't just say, we're going to hire you for what you know, we're going to hire you for what you can do and what you can give to the company and what you can give to society as a whole. We create partnerships with our suppliers. Yes, our suppliers, they may cost a little bit more right now, but in the long run, it's a lot less expensive because their quality is better, because they are committed to helping us be successful. We're committed to a culture of process. I'll describe that in a little bit and why that's important. And then problem solving. We don't ignore problems. The majority of, in the 80s and 90s, you go to American businesses, if you screwed up, you tried to hide that. Oh no, I don't want anyone to find out. I'm going to get fired if anyone finds that. Oh man, that's going to be bad. But that's not the lean philosophy. The lean philosophy says if something or someone screws up, everybody needs to know about it right away. It's kind of nervous, isn't it? Why is it nervous, or why wouldn't it be nervous? If something happens, wouldn't you want to know? If your wheel fell off while you're driving the car, would you want to know, like, quickly? You would actually know really quickly, but that's the whole idea with this, is that you can stop and immediately fix things that are broken. But if you hide them and put them under the carpet or do whatever, you're going to be in trouble. I have until 4, right?
No.
Oh! Okay, I better hurry. So this, if you go into a textbook or go to Wikipedia, which we know is 100% accurate, if you go there, you'll find things like lean is about value stream, flow, pull, perfection, all this stuff. But really, to me, it's where we have an innovative, a thoughtful organization, disciplined, moving better. I don't care where you start from, but you're always starting somewhere. And as long as you realize that every time you're going to move forward and get better, that's what I'm looking for when I go into an organization, either as a consultant or as an employee. And we're looking for perfection. Are we ever going to get there? No, we can't. But we're going to keep trying. Some things we will get perfect at, but not all things. That's what we know. And to me, lean is the Toyota production system. These are synonymous words, by the way. Except in our Buy American mentality, we don't want to know that everything that we learn is from Japan. We want to say, oh no, America's great, and so we just called it lean, and there it was. But it was coined in, I don't remember what year, I think the early 90s, late 80s. But it was coined by this guy, Jim Womack, and he said, lean production is lean because it uses half of everything. It uses half the people and half the materials, and it gives just as much. So, what do we think? Well, I'm going to tell you what you think, by the way. So that way, I don't hear the crickets. But when we read that, when folks read that nowadays, you walk into a company and says, lean is about fewer people getting the same thing. Everyone says, I'm going to get fired. You're going to get rid of me. And the idea behind lean is not that we're going to get rid of people, is that we are going to make what we do more efficient. Well, Mo, you're playing with me here, because by making it more efficient, you won't need me. So let me back up. In that organization, let me back up a little bit, is that we grew so big, so fast, we just said, okay, let's not think about how we grow. Let's just add people. And we got really fat. No pun intended. I had a little extra Arby's last night. But we started growing so out of control that we added all these people that we didn't need. In the case of the project that Lila and I worked on, we had a half person in our department managing paperwork that no one needed. So if I got rid of all that paperwork that no one needs, what do I do with those people? Well, it's a half a person. You can't really get rid of half a person. But what we could do is we could join our half people and create this bridge between our departments. I'm sure that you guys, if you're with Lila long enough, you've talked about handoffs. Handoffs are where a lot of waste happens and where a lot of miscommunication happens. So if you can start redeploying folks, or if you can grow in a smart way, that's how you can get this. But we in America have grown without fear. We were rich for a while, and we just added people because we were making, how many airplanes? 750 airplanes a year. We could just keep adding people because we're going to keep doing this forever. But we didn't always add them in the right way. So anyway, there we go. But what we found is that we said, okay, we're going to use half of everything, and let's just go into a plant and we're going to make it lean. And what Jim Womack said was, you can't just take the lean concepts and put them on your business and expect it to succeed. Anybody fish? Heard of Evinrude engines? Evinrude motors, I guess I should say. There's a plant down in Racine, Wisconsin. They were going to be the model for lean. They were opening up. I was working with them, and they said, we have everything all set up. We're going to kick it off at 8 o'clock Monday morning. The production line's going to go up. We're going to do the new EVTEC motor. I don't even remember anymore, but it was the 4-stroke Evinrude, big, huge motor. They were going to put it on a lean production line. 8 o'clock, turned on the switch. By 8:03, everything stopped. 3 minutes into their production system, that they had, the press was there, everybody was there, turned it on, and this is going to work great. Planning for months, even years, to get this to happen, and nothing worked. But they were expecting that. They knew that this was going to be a challenging process. They had to start with all of the pain and then work through each problem that was immediately evident and work through it until that motors just started slowly kicking in. And there we go on motors. But anyway, so you can't just take everything that you read about lean and say, oh, I read about it in a book once, so let's do that. There's a really cool echo over here. I'm going to stand here for now. So Six Sigma from Motorola gave us quality with a plan. So lean is given that culture, that philosophy, but it's not getting to the root of the quality plan. Six Sigma measures our quality, and it says these are the things that you need to fix. Lean is about how we think, how we fix. Six Sigma is the detail of saying what needs to be fixed. So Motorola started this, it started generating success. I became a Lean Six Sigma black belt through Caterpillar. And I was a supplier to Caterpillar, and what they said is every supplier to Caterpillar worldwide has to have at least one black belt. The training I got to do this was about $30,000, and it took 4 months to get me certified. Normally, they would pick the brightest and best person in the organization, but that guy couldn't go, so they let me go, which was sweet. Kind of changed my life. It was nice. All right, and I found that out because I found the spreadsheet, and my name wasn't even on it. Anyway. Okay. What does it do? It enhances value, accelerating the rate of improvement, promoted learning, executed strategic change. I think it's Jim Barton. I can't remember, but he was the CEO of Caterpillar at the time. He said, we are going to have a payback on our black belts in 1 year. So in order to do a project, it had to save the company at least $1 million a year. And, well, that was it. That was the criteria. To be a certified black belt, you had to get trained and you had to complete a project and save the company $1 million a year. They have now about 2,000 to 3,000 black belts within Caterpillar. Within that first year, they trained almost 600. So $30,000 a piece for this training, times 600. How many is that? That's a lot. A couple $1 million. And then the turnaround was to get certified, you had to save the company $1 million a year. So $600 million they saved with $1 million investment. I'm not really good with numbers, but I think that's a pretty good investment. So why do I say this? Okay, well that's what Six Sigma is about. That's what Lean Six Sigma is about. People are in industry buying into this and wanting to use it. Well, what does it mean? It's a statistical term. We know what standard deviation is, right? That, I don't know if I had the symbol of it, but that's what that sigma is, a standard deviation. But to not scare everybody away that doesn't like math, we just call it sigma. But really what it comes down to is defects per million opportunities, is that you're only going to screw up 3 times out of 1 million chances. So a great baseball player, would have a yield of about, what, 330, right, is a good batting average. 33% of the time they hit. Well, that's at a 1 sigma level, and they're making a lot of money. But defects, if they had 1 million at-bats, they're only going to hit it, what, 310,000 out of 1 million. They're not really good. But imagine if they had this kind of quality level. Does everything need to be this good? Doesn't have to be. But if you're going to fly in an airplane and you're going to go on Northwest Airlines, what quality level would you want on their crash rate? How many times out of 1 million chances would you want them to go down?
0.
Yeah, you really don't want them to crash at all. Okay, so you're going to give them $500 to go to Vegas this weekend, and you say, Northwest, you can spend it however you want, but I really don't want to crash, and I really don't want to lose my luggage. So how should they divvy that money up? Well, they should put most of it into not crashing. I don't really care if they lose my luggage. But nowadays, we expect them not to. But our luggage is somewhere around this 4 sigma. So they're not going to kill themselves to not lose your luggage as much as they are to make sure that the plane is safe and is going to get there on time. So that's what this is saying. Defects per million opportunities. So we started learning from Toyota in, I want to call it the late 80s. We had a joint venture. General Motors had a joint venture with Toyota, and they had a plant out in California, the New United Manufacturing and Motor Incorporated. And they made a number of vehicles. The Toyota Tundra truck, I think, was out there, and can't remember. I had a chance to go out there and visit with them. They recently, a year and a half ago, closed this plant. But in working with them, I'll tell you a story about what I saw while I was out there. But what was obvious to the United States then when we had this venture is that it wasn't about the Lean Six Sigma tools as much as it was about the culture, the way we approached problems, the way we thought about things. And Toyota's success was founded in that philosophy, so we tried to start emulating that. And we created lean practitioners. We created lean gurus that would come in and be able to help businesses become leaner, because that's what was successful. Now there's just tons of information. You go online, you go to Wikipedia, you'll get tons of information about how to, or what kind of tools are out there, and then how to use them. They give you a chance to do it. But here's a list of some of the tools that you can use to improve your business and or household. So everything is in support of a mission. We have our folks down here. We're empowered to solve problems. We reflect on our problems. We don't just ignore them. We train them. And then we have, it's very visual, we have a structure. All these things are super critical. And what we found is, we start, as a business, we start understanding a couple of key concepts. What is waste and what is value? You had mentioned value a little bit ago, is that we value something. Well, define that. What is something? Well, it's what the customer perceives as value. And what is waste? Everything that doesn't add value to a customer. If I were writing an exam, those two words would be on it, by the way, waste and value, because that's everything you need to know about lean. But it gives us the ability to speak a common language. When we go into a manufacturing plant and I say, look all the waste that's happening. What do you mean? What do you mean everything I'm doing is a waste? Don't call my job a waste, but we start talking together and solving problems. It allows us to create alignment across an organization to say, what are we going for? What is our mission? Are we all working towards it? We had an opportunity, by the way, you guys are you in the Air Force?
Not yet.
Not yet, but will be. We had the opportunity to work with, and I mentioned the Air Force Smart Operations Crew. So all the way up to 2-star generals came over to Cirrus Aircraft to learn what we were doing. They have, and one of the gentlemen that came, and I think Lila got a chance to meet him, is in charge of the strategic mission of the Pacific Air Force, so half of the Air Force. Colonel Curious George, remember him? Just a dynamic guy, but what they're working on is they have a mission. The Air Force has a mission, and that mission is carried around across the world. Well, how do you get every single airman and woman to be on the same page? You got some dude sitting up here in Duluth, Minnesota. How does he care or know what's going on in Hawaii? Well, they're all part of some strategic mission. So that's what Lean gives us, is the ability then to be part of the same thing, same mission together. And it increases our flexibility, which is crucial, and then gives us more ability to survive. This is Six Sigma in a nutshell. And I'm going through a lot of things here because I only have 50 minutes. Lila said I could have 3 weeks, but she's 50 minutes would work. Okay, these are the steps. We have a define, this is just project management. Define, measure, analyze, improve, control. This is what we do in a Six Sigma project. What does the plan want? How well are we at delivering that plan? And I skipped one here, it's got to come back. Here we go. What's keeping us from delivering that to the customer? And how can we eliminate the things that are keeping us from meeting what our customer wants? So define, measure, analyze, improve, control. And we can kind of jump in between all of these phases of Six Sigma. And this becomes the teachable recipe. This is what you learn as a black belt or as a green belt, white belt. You would learn these steps, these phases. Define what your problem is. How big a deal is it? Arby's, for example, last night, they had one pissed off customer. That was me. I wasn't really, I was talking on the phone. I didn't really care, I was too tired. But I could have been really upset. So how many upset customers do they have? Let's say it's 500. If they have 500 upset customers in a month, how many people eat at Arby's in a month? Let's say it's 5,000. So 500 out of 5, that's 10% of their customer base is unhappy. Is that okay? I don't know, what's the benchmark? What is the rest of industry? Well, McDonald's, only 2% of them, the customers are unhappy. So we start putting numbers to our quality measures, and we go through this process. See, all because I was at Arby's Wednesday. All right. And then there's this concept that we have in the United States that the faster we go, the worse our quality is. But Lean is about doing the right things at the right time for the right result. So it isn't about speed being poor quality, it is about speed being higher quality. So what we do in a Lean world is we speed things up so problems become more evident. We speed things up so problems become more evident. You'll have to think about that one for a while. Maybe I'll come back. Because I got to get to this one, because I know I would put this on your exam. In fact, I saw your exam. It has this on it. It's the Poke-Yoke. The Poke-Yoke is an extremely useful tool. It is another Japanese term, and it says that your book, this is what I have to set straight from your book, it says that it avoids mistakes. What is I'll ask you what a good Poke-Yoke is, but my definition of a Poke-Yoke is that it prevents you from doing it wrong. There is absolutely no way you can screw it up if there's a Poke-Yoke in place. What's an example of a Poke-Yoke? Checklist. So I go to fly an aircraft, I've got my checklist. Can I screw it up? Still can. So it's an assistant, but it's not fully a Poke-Yoke. It would be an avoid mistakes kind of thing. Help me remember. So a Poke-Yoke. Absolutely cannot screw it up. Can't put your car in drive until you put it in bridge. Do you know why that's around? It's bad on your transmission? No, it's because people like me were running over kids. You'd be like, oh, okay, it's in drive, turn it off. You know, drive over. So actually, it was kids. They can't reach the pedal and put it in gear. So if the car is running and they try to do that, little 2-year-olds can't do it. So that's a great Poke-Yoke. Can you get around that? It would be pretty difficult. The normal person can't. So you could do it, but it's almost impossible. 99% of the time, you can't get around it. Did you have another Poke-Yoke?
I was going to say like a safety on a gun.
Safety on a gun. You can't fire it while the safety's on. Is that a poke yoke? What do you think? That's a tough question. I don't even know the answer. Because I could accidentally hit the safety off. I could accidentally hit the brake though. So I'll have to think about that. What about when you're filling out a form on the internet? You get frustrated when they say, oh, you forgot to put your number in the right. Oh, you know why they're doing that? Because when they go to look at your information, they have to go and they have to fix your mistake if you made any. But if you put it in the right format, boom, they're ready to go. So they save themselves time. So poke-yokes are what that's about. In the financial world, I don't speak money, so I'll be out of my league here, but some things ought to add up. And if they don't add up, it should prevent you from going any further. Are there examples of that?
I think so. I think they know.
Do you know what some examples are in a financial statement? If it doesn't add up, don't go further.
Debits equals credits.
Is that right? I have to buy into that, because mine don't. All right. So, okay, that's what a poke-yoke is. So in a manufacturing world, that means that the process is unstoppable. If it's moving, it's just kicking along and it won't stop, because everything can't be done wrong. And if it can't be done wrong, it'll be done right every time. So a very successful manufacturing process or service process is where there's a ton of little different poke-yokes in place. So one point I want to put on here is that it's not idiot-proofing. Have you ever been in white line fever? I know this is me preaching now, but you're just cruising along and you're not really paying attention. You know, you got it's miles and miles of country road and you're just following along and you know, you're kind of off in the world and you don't remember the last 30 miles. I would argue that you're not idiots, but oftentimes when we put a poke-yoke in place, you'll get some guys that, like me, would say, oh, you're just making it idiot-proof. So I'm like, no, I'm making it mo-proof. Because when I go to work, sometimes I'm just kind of in the zone, you know, I'm a little hungover from last night, or I'm just kind of like, you know, got too much going on, and I'm not paying attention. And if the system can't screw up, I'm the right guy for that job, because I can do that. Okay. This all started with this dude, Saiichi Toyota. The automatic lube company is, so if you get a chance, you want to read it, it's great. Mistakes are impossible. Here's the assembly line out at the Toyota plant, the joint venture in California. And here is the operator. So we're building a car. This is the Bel Air. Look at it. I love the animation on it. It almost looks like it's moving, doesn't it? All right. Anyway, so the idea was, this is the way the floor was painted. So it was green, yellow, and then red. So the supervisor's standing back there, and here's the technician working, and they stop, and then they go to the next car, and they would work and work and work and work, and then they would step into the yellow. What happens? What can you, without knowing anything else, realize about what I just did?
Taking too long.
I took too long. So this dance that I have in a manufacturing system is kind of going along, and I step in the yellow. Somebody knows about it. I step in the red and the line shuts down. 2,000 people are without anything to do. So when I mentioned at the beginning, I said problems have to be immediately visible. So my job as a process engineer is to design that system so that dance is in cadence and it stops at that green line. So we talked about motion, right? So here I'm standing at my job and I'm working, doing whatever it is, and then I reach back. That's wasted motion. If I could just put whatever I was reaching for within my area, that would be perfect. In an office environment, I type in my reports and I go to print it, and then I walk 2 miles down the road to go pick it up. That's wasted motion, wasted movement. Transportation is a lot the same, is that when I receive a part into my plant and I have to drive it on a fork truck all the way over, the customer doesn't care where you store it and where you put it. So why not take it off the truck, work on it, and then ship it out? If you could do that, you hardly need any space. So when we start looking at what causes waste, we have to try to get rid of these things until we can get to the real problem.